We're just back from whale watching here on Maui, and it was awesome. We saw dolphins, we saw some humpback whales, some waving at us, breaching out of the water, and at some point they even did kind of a children's part where they put the microphones into the water so that we could hear some of the whale sounds. When we arrived this morning, it was packed. I know that they have 3 boats going out, and I guess all of the boats have everyone kind of arriving like 45 minutes early. So when we got there, there was a huge line. We were not early, we were late. I ended up hearing someone call my name. So I got to go to the front of the line, and they were like, hey, your boat briefing is starting in like 10 minutes. If you could just go wait in this specific area. We went with Pac Whale specifically because we know somebody who works at Pac Whale, but to be honest, we saw other boats going out this morning too. So I think probably most of the companies are pretty good. They all seem to kind of go out to the same area. We ended up booking it on a catamaran sailboat. The reason why we booked the sailboat is because when we have seen the Nepali coast on Kauai, we've done it both from a raft and from a catamaran. And the catamaran is just like a little bit higher up, so you can see the dolphins in the water below you, that kind of thing. And I was thinking that the catamaran sailboat was also going to be kind of a 2-floor taller outside of the water experience. I had heard that if you go with the smaller boat, the one that sits like 40 people, that it feels like you are closer to the whales. But I don't really know if that's possible because all the boats are only really allowed to be within a certain distance of the whales. Like they have to stop anyway, so I don't really know if that makes a difference. But I will say our sailboat wasn't 2 floors, so while we could see the dolphins in the water, you're never really at a point where you're so close to humpback whales that you can see them in the water anyways. It was still a really good experience. I liked it. They had coffee, juice, water, tea this morning. And then we went out, we saw some whales. They are fast though. You gotta have like your camera ready if you want to capture the whales because they're kind of like coming out of the water and then just disappearing. Or you see them in the distance blowing water, but that's pretty much it. You'll see some tails when they do the tail kind of dive down. And then we did see a few breaches, but none super close. And I don't know how they do it. Like it feels like the boat just goes out and they're just kind of like randomly looking for whales, right? If they see a whale, they go towards the whale, but if they don't see a whale, nothing really happens. It was so nice though. The weather got so good. It was raining this morning when we left, and then it got super sunny on the west side, but it was very, very windy on the boat for like a solid 15 minutes. Like I ended up taking off my hat because I was worried it was gonna blow away. It was so windy. Same coming back too. They like warned us just saying like, hey, it's gonna be windy for a little bit. So if you wanna go inside, then you can definitely do so and hide inside. And that was protected where the juice, coffee, hot chocolate were. That was great. It was great to have kind of the inside and the outside. And then at some point, the captain came up to the front and had all the kids gather and asked them all the questions like, what's your favorite movie? And have you seen Finding Nemo? And do you know the sounds of whales? And it was kind of just like a lead up to how they were gonna put this like hydrophone microphone into the water so that we could hear some whale sounds. I want to say that it was kind of played up a lot more for the kids than we just listened to whales, if that makes sense. He was like telling a lot of stories. He'd like turn it on for 2 seconds and you'd hear like, and then like turn it off and be like, so what's your favorite Disney movie? I don't know if I liked how the whole thing was presented. Like if we were going to listen to whales, we could just listen to whales. If we want to like have a kids entertainment moment, we could just have that. So not sure about that. I gotta say, at some point I was on the boat and I realized that I did not know where the life jackets were, or their safety protocols, or really anything, because there was no briefing at all. When you get on the boat, nobody tells you where any of that stuff is. They basically just say like, hi, I'm your guide today. I'm a naturalist. I'm gonna tell you about some whales. And then we just got on the boat. So no safety equipment that I knew of, or that we knew where to find. So we definitely did have this moment like, it's pretty windy outside. And if anything were to happen, I don't really know what we're gonna do. So that's something to consider, I guess. If you're gonna get onto a boat, don't do what I did. Think twice, just in case, because safety first, you should know where it is. I just feel like that's something that should have come up. I did really like that when it was really windy, they opened up the sail and then we were just sort of like sailing for a while, like just cruising in the water, going with the wind. And in those moments, it did feel like we saw a few whales kind of coming closer to us. They were saying that they don't know for sure, but they do think that whales prefer it when the engines aren't on in the water near them. I mean, that just seems logical to me, so that makes sense. And then a part that I really, really loved is when we saw dolphins in the water. So the front of the boat had these 2 like mesh nets that you could go on to. So I was like lying down on one of the mesh nets, like looking forward at the dolphins in the water just in front of our catamaran, just playing in the waves. That part was awesome. I loved that. And something to know is that I booked this boat specifically because of the height that I hoped that it would be, but also because it's a smaller group. They have the classic whale watch tour, which I've heard sits over 100 people. But the catamaran, even though they can have allegedly like 90 people, they only put 55 on. But even luckier for us, and possibly because the tour was so early in the morning, because our boat left at 7:45 this morning. So, you know, maybe not everybody wants to wake up so early when they're on holiday. Our boat had less than 30 people. So it was really, really nice. Everyone had a spot. You could move around really easily. Overall, I think it was a good experience. I can see how the raft feels like you're a lot closer to the whales for sure. I loved being able to see the dolphins. I loved being able to see the whales. I don't know if it makes a huge difference in regards to the different kinds of boats. I thought it was a really good experience as it was. Now I stand by my opinion. I think it's nice to be higher up so that you can see dolphins below you. Because when you're so close to the water, if they're below you, you don't really have a lot of opportunities to be able to kind of like look over the bow and look down at them. And man, the mountains, I know it's not Nepali coast or anything, but the mountains, the West Maui mountains are still very beautiful to see from the water. So great trip. Definitely, I think for sure would be worth doing if you come to Maui and you're here during whale season. The view of the whales is significantly better, obviously, than the view that you can see from the shore when you're shore whale watching.